Joining me today is Ramon Ray. He is a four-time entrepreneur, global keynote speaker, and best-selling author. Ramon is a founder of Smart Hustle Media and smallbiztechnology.com. He also produces the annual Smart Hustle Growth Conference in New York City, which brings entrepreneurs together to help them build healthy and profitable businesses. Thanks for joining me today, Ramon.
John, you are absolutely fantastically most welcome. It's always good to be here when I can be with another fellow business owner and share with their tribe, as I've asked people to share with my tribe. So it's always great to have an exchange of minds.
That's amazing. Sounds like you're having so much fun. So we'll just get right into it and ask you, like, right now, you've been doing so much, right? You're all over the place, you're traveling, but what do people know you by today? And how did you get to where you are?
That's a big question. We'll have to talk for me for 3 days, but let's see how I can succinctly say that, and then you can help me unpack what's most interesting for your audience. But I think today, listen, I'm very well known for the events that I produce, especially in the local New York area. My Smart Hustle Growth Conference I've been doing for 14 years. And as you know, in this industry, it's well known. You know, if you ask somebody in Indonesia, you ask somebody in New Zealand or other markets, they won't know Ramon. But in this small business marketing space, I'm well known. So my events, definitely, I think, as they call us, influencers, a word I don't use for myself, but I think the big brands is a word that people use, meaning you produce quite a bit of content, you're on the speaking track, and et cetera. So yeah, that's pretty much what people know me as, this guy who's newly into Smart Hustle, who's had small biz technology for many years. But overall, John, I'm a speaker, a writer, event producer. And yes, I am an entrepreneur, started 4 companies, and as you may have alluded to, sold 2. So it's a mishmash, and I think there's good sometimes in that, but sometimes it's bad, like you lose focus and throwing stuff against the wall. But I've gotten comfortable throwing stuff against the wall, but it is all in the small business space and with a tilt toward marketing. I'm not Mr. Finance. I can't help you. Like, I don't have a deep dive in SEO like you have, but it's really the overall rubric of marketing for small businesses overall.
That's amazing. So I'm just going to backtrack and ask you, so how did you get into this entrepreneurial journey? Like, did you go to school learning to be a business person, or did you have family mentors or mentors that you kind of followed?
Good question. I wish I could say I just finished my Harvard Law degree. I don't know why people go Harvard when I say Harvard. I guess those of us who don't have a Harvard Law degree go Harvard. You may have one, but that's what the
definitely not.
When they mock on Shark Tank and other shows, am I right? Don't they always do a little British accent, I guess, to sound royalty and uppity? But no, listen, I had a stint working at the United Nations for many, many years until I resigned and fired kind of in the same time period. Depends on how you look at it. I knew it was coming though, and that was because of my entrepreneurial ventures. So that's one big part of my life that I can't ignore, over 10 years working at the United Nations. But while there, John, I think that to be an entrepreneur, and I think there's freelancers, business owners, and entrepreneurs. I do think there's a slight distinction between them. Yeah. So as an entrepreneur, I think one who likes the risk, the journey, always looking for something new and fresh. That's me. So I think I had that bug in me, and I think we're born with that to a degree. There's just those of us who like the pain, like the thirst of losing $20,000 on our credit card. We like the risk of, I don't know if I can pay rent this month.
Yeah.
And that's really how I started. So I was working at the United Nations for many years, John, and I had this bug in me to start my first company, which was a technology consulting company. I had the skill set. That's a whole other conversation. But, as you're a kid, you get into some flows, right? Some channels. So I had a techie background, ham radios, or not ham radios, but making little radio kits. You wrap it around copper in your home. So doing that. And really, someone's like, hey, my computer broke. Can you fix it? Yeah. $2 and a hamburger. Can you afford it? And you just grow from that. So that was really my first thirst of, can I charge somebody something? And from there, I can talk about it later, but from there it grew really into Inc. magazine as one data point, asking me to write for them, and Black Enterprise as well. And I'm like, okay, you want me to write for you? Wow. And learning you can monetize that, then getting invited to speak. So that's how the journey kind of began, and how it is today. You just keep building on these things, and you realize you can make money doing it.
That's amazing. So were there, I know you mentioned like growing up, it's probably in you, but did your parents
good question.
You? Did your parents were they supportive, like inspired you? Like what really drove you?
Absolutely.
Because it's so easy to get caught up with the wrong group of people, the
It is.
crowd, especially in this world that we live in today, right?
Yeah. So I had great parents. My parents are ministers, as in religious faith church, depending on the word you want to use, but ministers. So, but no, they didn't push me towards that. And they weren't really into tech or entrepreneurship, just be a good human and, and go on your life, but nothing negative towards them. Great people. But I think the thirst for entrepreneurship, if I had to shout out some people, I think one, at the United Nations, I was just around, I guess, in our world of hiring vendors,
Okay.
coming across people who are just, oh, so what do you do here? And you learn like, oh, so you do that, if that kind of makes sense.
Yep.
So I think it started just by reading. Somehow, John, I know I've been a reader of Inc. magazine for many years. And again, the connection of what happened to Ramon being an entrepreneur, why he's reading Inc., I don't really know. But I think it just somehow accidentally, you pick up a magazine and you like it. Nope, I don't like training dolphins how to clap. That wasn't me. I didn't like coding. That wasn't me. Yeah. But for somehow this desire. So I think between Inc. magazine, I have version number 1 of Fast Company magazine, and you get the email newsletters. Well, let me back up from that. You learn about, creating websites. So you may know this, John. You, like me, we both kind of look like we're 12 years old. So I don't know how old you are, but some of your audience may remember the old timers, Microsoft Front Page. Yeah. Okay. So this is before, and those who are younger in your audience, before you just go to WordPress, nah. Before Blogger.com, no. Before Movable Type, you would have to save and upload to FTP. So that was my journeys. And I see your laugh there. You know what I'm talking about. That was my journey, John, of really just doing content. And the tool is secondary, which we can get into. But what I'm trying to explain to people was, yes, I have this desire to share, to publish, and you use the tools available at the day. Oh, AOL and Prodigy. I was an early user of those tools. Yeah. That helps to know the journey. So it wasn't really parents per se, but I think just somehow reading those magazines, reading those books, I was like, you know what? I like this. I like this tech, but not just the tech, or I'd have been a programming side, more so the content. And I think God's given me a gift to speak and all those things using somebody at the UN. Oh, one more thing I'll add, if I may, John.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, yeah. Just at the UN, my boss also was pushing me. He was a Frenchman. Ramon, I want to do a live video. And since I was a techie, I must add that to my story. That was another reason. He was a Frenchman. That's another reason why I think I could take the techie, learn how to publish in content, and then I cut my teeth on learning to do it for myself, if that kind of makes sense.
No, that makes total sense, because if someone's curious, right, and a constant learner, they are equipped with 2 things that makes up an entrepreneur, really, right? Like, because you're always talking and, building things and, finding if there's opportunities, because if you're interacting with a lot of people and you're reading a lot, right, where then your mind's always thinking, why hasn't this happened? Why isn't this available? Then, you start thinking about different ways and solutions and opportunities and ways to really impact the world, right? To help others. So that totally makes sense, because even myself, I don't think of one person that kind of guided me. I just think that I was different.
Yes.
Right? Because my 3 other siblings, they all did engineering. And I went to business school. Business, I studied finance. I did an exchange program, and I was able to just travel and meet just different people, because I was always curious, right? And then all these different jobs I've had, there was not just one person or mentor that really gravitated toward. I really wanted to be the best, so I always just gravitated towards the smartest people in each organization, right? The most successful, or the ones that I found very interesting, right? And then just picking their brain and going for coffee or lunch and dinner and getting to know them, right? Like all that stuff. And then you finally realize, like, all these things that you've done really impacted how you become in the end, right?
That's right. And I do like to say, John, people like us, I think, are blessed or fortunate, depending on the word you wish to use, that we're doing this because, again, nothing wrong with what our siblings and others have done, but you and I may not be wherever we are today, however people want to define it, if we didn't have people. And I would just shout out, I always like to, since I know we have some time, 2 people, Yakov Yurinsky, a half Israeli, half Argentina guy. He's the president of a tech company now, Orion Global Solutions. He was a mentor to me over the years. We're still friends today. We're similar age, but he's a bit more far, as it were, mature in the journey.
Yeah.
So even at the UN, I would go to him and cry in his office, and he'd say, Ramon, you could do it. Second name is Norm Brodsky. If you Google it, you'll see he's still an Inc. magazine columnist. He may be 70 or more. Norm, sorry if you're younger, but I think he's about 70-ish or so. And he's a serial entrepreneur, well known in the New York area. So there's people like that over the years who, yes, I've relied on to help me. They'd whisper, Ramon, have you left the United Nations yet? Are you still doing your side hustle?
Yeah.
You know, so
no,
I can mention others.
Like having just people that support you, that's so critical, right? Because people just get caught up with the wrong people. And that's the peer pressure or just surroundings, right? Like family could be a bad influence for some too, right? Like just surround people that you want to achieve to become, right? And I mean, that's great to hear that you actually tried so many different things as well. So those 4 different jobs, I mean, different entrepreneurial journeys, like how did you move on to the next? So did you end the first to move to the second to get to the third?
Yeah, and you can help me walk through it. Let me unpack them. I may come out jumbled, but you're a smart guy. You can help me make it sound credible, or make it sound make sense. So the 4 things were: I had a technology consulting company, small. Again, all the things I started just to fully disclose to people. And I say this, John. Some people say, Ramon, you should stop saying it, but I don't want people to think, I'm the billion-dollar, multi-million-dollar entrepreneur, because that's what we read about all the time in the news. I'm the guy who can create companies that generate hundreds of thousands of revenue and then sell them. That's me. I'm not the guy who can build a $10 million company. Maybe I could, but it's just not my comfort zone. So disclosure on that. So technology consulting firm, that was just me doing Microsoft Access, I would say programming, John, but more like copy and pasting or reading the book. Okay. And doing forms, going to Radio Shack in the US, those for your Canadian audience, Radio Shack is our, tech. Okay, yeah. So, installing the Ethernet cable with the little plastic strip with the plastic molding, you put it on the wall, and so you get it. So doing that, and then I had my smallbiztechnology.com, which is a blog where I'm most known at, as that was sold just a few months ago.
Oh, nice.
Thank you. Almost at a 20-year anniversary. Third company then was my event business called the Small Business Summit. That I did that with a partner friend of mine, which we sold as well. And then the company that I'm currently heading is Smart Hustle Media. So the first one was dissolved. I just stopped doing it, whatever you call when you close your account, you just stop doing it. The second one, Small Biz Technology, that's the one I sold recently. So still running it while I was running Smart Hustle, if you get the time frame, and at the UN for some of the journey. And then the small business conference business that I sold to, I think it was called Blog World. Some people may know Blog World back in the day. And then now I'm running Smart Hustle Media, which I think I've been running for 5 years, I want to say, give or take. And that's an agency working with brands and educating. So that's kind of, they've all been, some have been running in simultaneous with each other. But generally, one was disbanded. One was sold recently while running Smart Hustle. And the other was my event business. But events, as you know, really just kind of email list and names. But I still do events, just different name. Yeah,
definitely. So in terms of like, did you follow your passion growing up? Like, was this something like, growing up, I was always into sports. I want to be Michael Jordan, right? Or
it's not too
for
late.
all the younger kids today, it's Jeremy Lin for Asians, right?
Yes, I got you.
But how did you set yourself apart? Like, did you want to be a CEO or a business owner? Like,
great question.
Pursue that.
For sure. And I think if this helps people, as they're listening to this, I think passion is so important. And I think, again, we hear the two things, passion. I think that is one part of business success. If you don't like what you're doing, John, as you know, it's really hard to do it. It's really hard. But I think the other part about passion is I think it's not just passion, but you kind of have, like I say, smart hustle, the hustle about it, but do it intelligently, smartly. And you have to, I think, have the desire for the pain. I read a lot about Navy SEALs. I've never been in the military, but I've studied quite a bit about the Navy SEALs. And I think that they also don't just want to, I'm the Navy SEAL cool guy. They love the pain. They love the water, the cold nights. So to answer your question, yes. I think I'm only recently, John, discovering myself. I have some books behind me. One is Strengths Finders, Dave Ramsey's EntreLeadership. So my point being about doing my journey, while at the UN and other opportunities, one thing I know, and I used to speak at SCORE. SCORE is the free U.S. government counseling service to small businesses. Speaking is one thing I love to do. and what I do very, very well. I'm not good at numbers. A lot of things I don't do well, but speaking, I do very well. So yes, following my passion for speaking is one thing, John. Other thing I've learned that I really love doing is not writing per se. Listen to the difference here, but I think it's telling stories, if you get what I mean. So I happen to have written over 10,000 blog posts and et cetera. I really don't like writing. I don't like blogging. It so happens to be the vehicle, like we're doing today. I love doing this, content, telling stories, interviewing people. So those are the two things. So I think, yes, John, when I look at my Smart Hustle conference, or at the time called Small Business Conference, or whatever the name was, whatever the name of the company I sold, it was an event, speaking, sharing stories. Smallbiztechnology.com, thousands of blog posts I wrote, storytelling, a vehicle for me to speak. So yeah, I think, and I'll, if you want, I'll tell you my secret passion. The only other thing I really want to do, unless you don't want to hear it, but I can tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
I was just baiting you. I wanted to be in the FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. That's the only thing I really want to do. And a cousin to that, I'd love to be like in the president's, our U.S. president's counter assault team, part of the Secret Service, or be Jack Bauer of 24. So you can see it's all in the same wavelength, but that's kind of my, and I still love to do it. I'm not, but beyond that, I'm doing what I love, speaking and telling stories, man. That's all I want to do.
That's amazing. I mean, it sounds like you have this niche and you have this gift, right? Where you're definitely passionate. You're definitely loving life, right? And you're that beaming smile of you, right? Like it sounds like you're just happy. And that's the most important thing about life, right? And you finally get to this point after many, I'm sure, struggles and frustrating nights and days, and where you're spending 18-hour days wondering, what the hell am I doing? So I want to get to that.
Yes.
Because to get to where you are, people only see you, Ramon, now happy. Yes. They don't see you, Ramon, while you were starting your journey.
Sure.
Spending 20 hours, 18-hour days trying to figure out, what the heck am I doing? And am I going to make enough money to pay rent?
Correct.
So on that front.
Absolutely. And I'll share it in two ways. One, the journey's not over. To be very clear, yes, I thank God that I've reached a bit of having deal flow, a good base of clients. You know, I'm not in the journey that some others maybe years ago I was. But hey, listen, I'm still figuring things out. I just told my team, guys, somebody on this team, and it's not going to be me, somebody on the team, actually, I should have another call with John, should figure out our Facebook advertising and Twitter advertising, what we're doing. So meaning, we're still figuring out things, but yes, John, I think that, so I can remember when I left the UN or got fired from the UN, which I did, meaning the contract was not extended. So I knew it was coming. So it kind of both happened at the same time. The point is, I remember panic. In fact, the letter is, if I can move my camera, it's right there. It's right next to me. It's right there. Dear Ramon, your services are no longer needed or whatever from the UN. It was like on a Wednesday, I got the letter. Friday, it was done. So yes, I can remember my wife telling me every month it would be, we draw down from our salary. I didn't even call it salary then, just money I had in the bank. Yeah. Hey baby, because we have and had then a one household income. Yeah. She'd say, Ramon, this amount's taken away. This amount's taken away every month. And at that moment is when I think the entrepreneurial light bulb went on. No free, no, hey, Dell, I'll go speak just for cookies and a plane ticket. Nope, here's my fee. So that's one story, as it were. So I do remember those for sure. You had to make it work. Lying awake at night wondering, okay, I asked for 2,000. The client's only going to give me 500. Okay, how do I make this speaking thing work? Of course, today my speaking fee is, much more. But the point is, so yeah, John, and I think that those who are in that position today, I really encourage you, stick at it. 2, make sure you're doing, as I'm sure you do for your clients, John, do excellent work. Because when you do darn good work, people see it, or you get on podcasts with John. I think 3, do make sure that, let me underline that, John, I'd love to know what you think, but I think there's a few people, they're trying to sell water to the example, they're in the wrong market. You don't have the right mindset. You're in the wrong market. You're trying to sell Naomi Campbell lipstick or whatever example you want to give, meaning, so if that's wrong, you can do all the hustle you want. It's not going to work. Yeah. But if you're in the flow, and if it's only been like day 2, come on, John, myself, others, we've been in this for months or years. You got to give yourself time. Tyler Perry talks about that. So is that helpful, John? In a long
Oh
convoluted,
yeah, definitely. I mean, there has to be a very strong desire and why you're starting this entrepreneurial journey, and you cannot give up. Like whenever you're faced with, you know, an issue or a problem or a dilemma, like you got to figure out a solution to overcome it. That first barrier, that first hiccup, like everyone thinks like that journey is going to be that golden line, right? It's going to be so easy to get to that peak, right? When reality is, it's like this every single day, right? And it's still like this. I'm trying to figure it out. Every business owner or entrepreneur is still, you know, trying to adapt and figure out who their ideal customer is. What's the ideal price point? Is this service actually something that people want? Like you always have to pivot and figure things out, right? Especially when you're just starting off, because you just don't know if this product or service is ideal for your demographic or your target market. That business plan that you write or whatever you have in your mind, it's never going to be what you think it's going to be.
That's right. Right? Oh, it's going to morph.
Right. So what I'm trying to get at is when I first started, I thought, well, everyone's going to love SEO. Everyone wants it. And then I realized,
and everyone's going to love you, right?
Dude. And then everyone's like competing directly with me all overseas and guaranteeing everything. I'm like, look, I just got to set myself apart and do things that I know I can do right and honest, ethical, and just do things right. And whoever likes that or not, they're my tribe. Whoever isn't, then they'll go and try these other companies, right? So stay true to yourself.
That's right.
You know, don't fake it, right? Like I hear a lot about like fake it till you make it.
Right.
I'm not a big believer in that. At the beginning, you may just want to take on as many clients and maybe even lose money to build that experience, right? But you know, people can see through if you're kind of faking everything.
That's true. And let me ask you, can I ask you a question, John? Is that allowed on your show? Okay, good. Going to this fake it till you make it, because I've heard this as well. People who, as it were, disagree with it, but let me give you a different perspective and let me know what you think and feel free to push back. You know, I
for sure.
respect your opinion, but I say fake it till you make it a lot. And here's what I mean. I'll give you the example.
Yep.
I remember when I created my first small business summit. It was called Small Business Summit, precursor to the Smart Hustle Growth Conference. Same thing, different name. Smart Hustle Small Business Summit. Intuit was my first sponsor. They gave me $15,000, which for me is a lot of money for a conference. And the point is, they said, have you done this before? Nope. Can you guarantee 300 people will come? Nope. And you know, on the conference call, you know how people beep, all the executive beep, 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 beep. Me, it was just like beep on my side. So the point being, I didn't lie at all. Didn't pretend to be who I wasn't. I've never done it before. I told them, but I sold them on the faith that I can do it. Hey, if I can get 10 people together for cold pizza, I can get 300 people together, you know, that kind of thing. So what are your thoughts on that?
But that's not fake it till you make it, because you're being honest and they see right through that you're actually genuine, that you are passionate and you want to make it happen.
Got it.
And you're going to over deliver, right?
Okay, got it.
Completely different than saying, I promise 500 people when you have 0 people subscribe.
Got it.
And guarantee, like all that stuff is different, right?
Got it. I understand.
And this is the problem with like social media and some of these other ads. I find like they're baiting people. It's like bait and switch, right? And the problem is people are, you know, short-minded and sighted, right? They see something they like. It sounds so good to be true. As a business owner, entrepreneur, you know it's not even reality.
And we want the help, right? We want $99. I'll be at the top of Inc. today. Done. Or 5,000, whatever it is.
Oh, I can earn 100,000 in 7 days?
Yes.
Right? Sign me up.
Yeah.
But these are all hacks, right? And ultimately, what are people trying to get? That system or a process, and maybe one person out of 1,000 people have made it. So they sell it on that one person, right? But 99.9% of the people never make it. So they're selling a dream that isn't really reality.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the challenge today in terms of marketing and advertising. You have to catch their attention, but they're the ones that are getting a lot of the leads, the ones that are bait and switch, right? Because people are suckers to this stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And then the real people, like running real businesses, they're the ones suffering because they're doing honest work and you're not deceiving anything. You're trying to put out real content, real call to action, real everything. And you're like not even seen because they have no interest on it's going to take you 5 years to grow a business.
Yep, that's right. And that's why I say, John, I think what we're doing, what you're doing now, I think that that's the best way to those listening to us. And I'm going to share this with my team. I think that the best way is that if the vendors, and this doesn't mean every vendor has to have a show and all that, but I think if you don't know anybody and you have no referrals, tip one, get referrals, ask people, but is the person you're doing, are they hiding? If they're hiding and you can't really find it, be careful. John's out here. I'm out here. You see what we do. We're posting. We're real people. So I think that's one way without knowing anything. You see John there, so I think are they going to events? Are they shaking hands? And I think especially for your type of business, SEO and et cetera, where there's a lot of people doing it, how do you know who's at the top? They're not hiding, as it were.
Exactly, right? And those are the ones that are short-lived in terms of like businesses. They're the ones, and same as restaurants and same as any industry, right? They're always changing their name.
Yep.
Changing ownership. There's a red flag right there, right? Like, why is that locations changed 3 times in 4 years? Like, what's going on? They're not paying taxes. They're, just running something that's not legit. Right.
The only people who change their names a lot are 2 people, John. Assassins and bad people in a James Bond movie, or unscrupulous businesses. That's it. Or scrupulous, whatever the word is. That's
Exactly. So I wanted to ask you, I know you've had 4 different entrepreneurial journeys. Can you mention some of the challenges or mistakes that you've made over the years and how did you overcome them?
Sure. I think one, and I always like to start with the recent because I'm still on this journey, I think is really figuring out who I am and what I am. And I'll just tell you, you can help me or the audience can as they're listening to this. Feel free to email me, by the way, or put into the comments wherever you're watching this. But so Smart Hustle Media. I wonder sometimes, John, is it about Ramon and Ramon's brand through which goes the events that we do, sponsored content we do, in the event sponsorships? Those are the 3, working with brands, events. Or is it the media company where, so we're still going through that. Who are we? Because Ramon has the bigger brand than Smart Hustle. So that's one thing, but that's a less challenge. Then I'll get to some other challenges we've had in the past. So that's one. I think 2, say for example, the event business. Everybody said, John, you should expand this. We would have a big brand sit next to us. Ramon, are you taking it national? I'm like, yeah. Are you going to give me a check? So I think really for me, John, the biggest challenge has been, and the past year, I've been on a journey to do it. 3 things. 1, I realized I have to be a better leader. Right behind me, right on the horizontal, I'm proving it. You just asked me, is Dave Ramsey's book, Entree Leadership.
Yep.
So that's 1. Nothing about tech, nothing SEO, no API calls. I have to be a better leader. So that's 1. I think 2, John, the biggest struggle for me, which I'm only now getting a grasp of, is my finances. Because finance is a weak area for me. You and I are nerds, geeks, and I don't know about you, but for me, and when you went to, finance business school, so it's probably that's a strength you may have. For me, it's harder. I have right behind me in white, it's the middle one there, Mike Michalowicz's book, Profit First. So that's another thing I've been digesting and reading. I have to get my numbers. So if that's an answer to the question, the 2 things I've struggled with are, I have to be a better leader and getting my numbers right so I can build a better profitable business. Because so many years I've been buried in my comfort zone, right? Retargeting ads. Hey, Ramon Ray, I'm on IG stories. That's my strength. You probably and I can do that in my sleep. But finances is where I'm like, me? Where I hide behind.
Well, it's good though, right? At least you know what you're not good at, and so you can improve, right? So self-reflection is so important. And I've started doing this just this past year as well, right? Like waking up at 5 a.m., the Robin Sharma thing, where I'd go to the gym and really write down what I am grateful for, what I appreciate, and what are some of the major tasks that I need to work on, right? And really understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, right? And what's the purpose and what does success really mean to people, right? Like it'll be different for every single individual. You shouldn't be chasing money, but it helps you support your family, have a shelter, right? Like make sure all the basic necessities are there, but then it allows you to do other things like travel and take care of your friends and family, go out for dinner, right? Do some events, right? Put on some events and not worry, right?
So true.
So the success, I'm always trying to figure this out as well, but I think we're in a different space. Like we're a lot further ahead than someone
Yes.
just starting off,
Sure.
right? But we are now realizing what our weak points are and how to improve, because you're already starting to read about all
That's right.
these, and you know in the next 6 months or a year, you'll slowly adapt and change.
Absolutely.
Right? Because you have that right mindset,
Correct.
right?
Mindset. You're right.
Right? A lot of these entrepreneurs, they just are not equipped, right? And they're chasing, and they don't even know why they're chasing what they're chasing, right? No clarity.
Yep.
Right.
No, you're so true. You're so true. I think it's powerful, John. I think that mindset is everything. And I think that going back to success, I think for me, how I've defined success, how I see it, I think one, you know, I don't know how much I should talk here, but I'll just tell you, I just had a talk recently with my wife about building wealth.
Yes.
You know, so meaning again, she thought wealth meant, oh, you want to be a billionaire? Calm down. I just want to, you know, so whatever wealth means, but it just a word I used, but I think it trips up some people. And the second thing, how I define success is, do I have a team that can do a lot of the things I'm doing so I can do other things? And I tell my team, you all should have your own teams for the simple thing, like let's say doing an event or building a landing page. I have to build a landing page for a client. I'm going to tell somebody else to do that. I empower you. Get somebody else then who can do it. But I'm only going to talk to you. If that makes sense, what I'm trying to say, John, meaning
definitely.
To me, success is that I can be on this show with John. Me and John can go to a big conference together, maybe, or me and him, our families can eat together. I'm making it up, whatever it is. That's success to me. I don't expect to do a Tim Ferriss, 1 hour work month. Come on, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But that I can do what I love, and that the process is still going. And I've written down, what are the things I can do well? Sales. And writing some things that are personal. Everything else, other people can do.
Oh, yeah. So about wealth, I mean, I was fortunate. I mean, I studied business finance and my wife is an accountant. So that allows me to really secure my finances. But I've always been, a big advocate of Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. So building wealth, like foundational, running a business, having assets versus liabilities, making sure that it's working for you all the time and it's generating you revenue and profit, right? And then in terms of leadership, like I've just learned over the last couple of years, like I want to be a better leader and I'm gonna let them lead and make mistakes, and it's okay. Instead of me dictating everything, and this is what happened early on when I started my agency, I was telling everyone what should be done. And I didn't even know what was right or wrong, but because I was the owner, I thought that was the best way to do it. Now I'm taking more of a back seat where every single team meeting, every single monthly call, I let all my staff members talk and let them figure things out. And I'll just rebuttal after listening, comprehending, and give suggestions. Have you thought about this?
Wow.
Let's try that, right? Empower them.
I like that, John.
Where they will then take more ownership and more power in trying to figure things out themselves and hire people and go source out consultants and do things, right? Because once you have that, then you can sleep better at night. You don't have to worry. You can work on your business, not in your business, right? And it's a lot more fun because I could really focus on doing the stuff like this, go and speaking tours, like stuff that actually—
Which only you can do, meaning at this size of your business, I assume that we kind of want, which is only John can do.
Exactly.
Man, and I learned from you, man, because I just started team meetings. Don't tell anybody. So, because I'm on this journey, but I like your idea. I may not do it today, as it were, because it may be too, you have to, before you change and you have to grow with your team. But the point is, I like your idea. I may have my team, or at least some members, lead the team meeting. So far, I've only done it because I think I have to set the template and example. Yeah. But I like your point is, I think I'm going to thank you. That's a ninja tip.
And one of the big things about my team is I actually love taking care of them because they're going to take care of your clients, right? So the more you can support and help and be, and we always say it's like our family. If you run your company like a family, you're going to really work on it. And you don't even have to ask them to sweat it in the evenings or weekends. They'll just do it because they know how passionate you are.
Yes.
right?
You're
So
so
they
true.
see it. And that's why, like, more you empower them and you take care of them, the better they're going to perform.
Yeah, you're right, John. And I'm learning that. I mean, I've known that, but I'm learning that as well. I mean, it's just really, and I say that publicly, which is a step for me, that I'm there to support my team so my team can support others. I'm curious, and you don't mind if I ask you questions, John? Is that okay?
Yeah, definitely. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
What's your advice? I mean, how do you, I guess what I forgot my, yeah. So how do you, tell me more about this supporting the team, and what things have you learned to step out that you won't do, but you empower and make sure that somebody else has the tools? Tell me more about that, because I'm doing that, but I'd love to know your idea, or what things do you say, no, I'm sorry, this is what I have to do, meaning I'm going to have to do this. How do you make that judgment call?
Every time there's a new project, right?
Okay.
Say there's a funnel that I wanted to work on,
Right.
Right. New landing page, new, Facebook ads or whatever. I say, go see if there's tools and software. Go do your own research, see who you want, a vendor, or if we have people in-house to work on it.
Right.
Figure out that ideal customer and audience. Our clients inside out. Put together a message, a campaign, and then let's A/B test it. And it's okay to make mistakes,
right?
As long as you don't make the same mistakes over and over again, right? But I will guide them. I will empower them to ensure that it doesn't go bad, right? It's okay to have mistakes, but make sure it doesn't keep going,
yes.
Right?
As Dave Ramsey says, non-fatal mistakes. Non-fatal. Exactly. That's what he says. He says in his Southern drawl, I'll let y'all make non-fatal mistakes, but fatal mistakes you probably get fired for.
Exactly. So when.
Yes.
By the time a client realizes, it's already too late. So you got to catch it before that, right? So you got to be on them to ensure that it's still progressive. You guys still watch and oversee, right? And have people even QCing everything. Right?
Yes.
So for us, it's like just empowering them, right?
Love it, man.
And I also try to take care of my team, right? We do an annual trip every year, right? Because majority of our consultants are in Asia. So we fly everyone there and we take care of them on a trip.
Right.
So the more you take care of your team, the more likelihood they'll stick with you and longevity, and they're going to take care of your staff.
Not for sure. Yeah. I did one thing. I started asking for the birthdays of my teams, which I hadn't had before. And I did something else. And somebody said, Ramon, or I wanted to pay. Oh, I know what it is. I wanted to give them a bonus or tip, something like that. But they said, Ramon, by the fact that you asked me this meant the world to me. Like they were like, no, I don't want the extra money, but the fact that you asked or were sensitive to it. So and that's another thing I learned even at the UN, even though I had some challenges, John, is that I can remember my boss at the time. He put his hand. I remember even which shoulder it was. This shoulder, this was years ago. He put his hand on my shoulder and just said, Ramon, I appreciate you doing great work. John, I'll never forget the warmth of his touch today, because he had issues. He wasn't the perfect boss, but man, him saying that, I was like, oh.
So that's exactly what I mean. Take care of your staff, but not just one time all year, right? On a regular, consistent basis, and acknowledge whenever there's small wins and successes, right? Because it's the micro moments people live on, right? Don't look for that huge 5-year success where they win that gold watch or whatever.
Yeah.
Do those smaller awards and wins. And I do this for myself. Like whenever we get a new client, I would just go take my wife on a dinner date.
Nice.
Something small, but it's like a small achievement.
Absolutely.
It might not be big, but it's becoming a habit. And I've been doing it all since I started this company, right? And it's so important. It's like self-gratifying, right? And it's like you accomplished something.
Yes.
Right? So in terms of like, I know you talked about some of the mistakes, right? Tips. I know you have a lot, I'm sure. What can you kind of give, say someone that's just kind of starting off their journey, right? What's important for people to actually acknowledge, do, and, to not kind of give up, right?
Sure.
To be successful.
Yeah. I think one, for those who are starting out, I'll talk to those people and you tell me who the profile is. But for those who are starting out, one thing I'm learning is that money. If you have a full-time job, that's a beautiful, beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Be very still leaving that job. But can you do your hustle, whatever you want to call it? Can you cut your teeth? Do the stuff John and I are saying. Get ready. Go to the events. Can you take a vacation? I've done that, things like that. So my point is, I say this, what I'm trying to say is because money's important.
Yeah.
And if you have another spouse who's another income earner, or if you can save up, or you have that 1 or 2 or 3 clients. So don't rush them. What I'm trying to say is to cut your money flow until you're ready. Because I'm sure as John,
Of
in
course.
his own journey, my journey, it's not fun to go 50,000 in debt on your credit card or borrow money from your mom or whatever you have to do. If you can get that set up. So that's one tip, money.
Yeah.
And you can talk to John and his wife about that. We're launching a new business today called the John, Ramon, and Wife. No, I'm teasing. But money. I think 2 is really know who you're speaking to. Yeah. I get this a lot from Seth Godin. Again, another book. It's sitting there. It's the orange book, horizontal on the second shelf. I'm pointing it so people can know. When I say this, I'm serious. Seth Godin's book, This is Marketing. Yeah. Really be crystal clear. Who is my target audience? Who am I serving?
Yes.
And I've been very clear on that, John. That's why even the last few weeks, I realized, no, I'm going to stop saying just entrepreneurs. We all get it.
Yes.
But freelancers, small business owners, and entrepreneurs. Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's 2, know who you're serving. And I think 3, as much as you can develop yourself as a person, going back to what we said, John, I think that's a 3rd tip, which I've learned late, John. I've learned late. Yeah. Meaning I'm blessed. I've been okay. We're hustlers, right? Yeah. Mary Forleo's book, everything is figure outable. It is. Yeah. But if you can be better leaders, the tips, and I at first thought it was like woo-woo. I don't know if people know that word, but woo-woo, like just all fuzzy. The guy you mentioned, Sharma, writing things down, and the other tips that are these things. But I'm telling you, it's serious. I have my little notepad here. It sounds weird for me, but I usually didn't have a notepad of writing certain things down. So things like that we may be so focused on, I got to get my profit and loss, which is important. Or, I got to get on Twitter. Yeah. But don't forget the other side that you as a person could be better. Was that helpful? And I'd love to know your tips, John. But
those are amazing. I mean, I just recently saw Seth live a couple weeks ago. So he's great. I mean, I read probably a dozen of his books, right?
Of course.
Because we're in the marketing world. But yeah, like always reading, always educating yourself. And if you're not good at reading written words, listen to podcasts. Watch videos. Yes. There's so many different ways to absorb content today. And there's a lot of free information, right? And go out and go do something versus, a lot of people like waste their time in terms of like stuff that's not impactful or moving the needle, right? So they spend a lot of time watching sitcoms or watching whatever it is, right? Yeah, it could be hobbies, but don't waste your time doing it and let it like drain you, right? I love the part about side hustles because I totally get it. Like it's a big risk to leave everything without that security of income. If you're used to making 100K and you suddenly have 0 and you have this mortgage payment of $4,000 a month, what's happening, right? Like you have to ensure that you have enough equipped and or have enough side hustle income to leave what you're leaving because there's huge opportunities or you'll be happier or something, right? Because there has to be a moment where you have to transition and take that bigger leap and risk, right?
So true.
But I mean, you were, I mean, every risk taker, now we think about it, we look back and we're like, I can't believe we did that.
Yes. And John, I must say, I was telling people that I would leave after I had 100,000 in the bank, literally in the bank. Yeah. I will leave after I have $500,000, which is just for the average middle-class North Americaner. Again, maybe I'm wrong. People listening are like, I have that. But my friends just don't have 100,000 to just meaning waste or pull out, if it makes sense what I'm saying. Like, oh, this is our savings. We'll live off this for 2 or 3 years with no income. Sorry. Most people don't. So my point is, figure it out. That's why I say having that full-time job or side job. Hey, boss, I'd like to work part-time. If you know them well, tell them why. If not, but can I cut hours? That even helps. At least rent and food. You're not going to have steak. That's okay. Get ramen noodles. Go back to college years.
Exactly. And figure it out, right?
Yes.
Like you will, because that's what you have to do to survive, right?
Oh, and John, the other thing, learn sales. This is just another tip. Shout out to my friend Adrienne Miller. She's, she does a sales trainer and there's many others, but you don't have to be a guru at it. But it seems like, John, you're probably pretty good at it. But for those who shy, don't speak well, don't know just the basics of how to sell, I would just take a small course and or long or whatever the time is to learn fundamentals of how to sell. because I think it's important.
It's the most important thing
Yeah,
as an entrepreneur, because if you can't sell your product or service, no one's going to sell it better than yourself.
Exactly.
Right? And I'm very fortunate. I've been doing sales all my life, right? Since I was 9 years old.
Nice.
So I was a newspaper boy growing up.
Yes.
And that's what, and I was hardcore telephone sales. I was doing door to door. I did it all, right? But that skin of mine is so thick because I don't care about rejection, right? And objections and doors slamming on me or the phone slamming on me. It's just,
in fact, you probably loved it because out of 100 hounds, please, 50 of you tell me no so I can move on and get money from those 50.
Exactly.
People don't get that. My niece was like, you like no? Yes, because I know I'm fishing in the right pond.
Exactly.
So.
Exactly. So my mindset is there has to be something. There's going to be someone, and the more no's you get, and no one's doing it. Like, you never go to school learning sales, right? And that's the one thing about our education system. Like, the fundamentals of why they teach you what they teach you are really so that you can work at a company and pay taxes.
Yes. Right. You're
ultimately right. For the government to get their taxes so they can do what they do, and politicians.
You can follow the line.
Right? But you as an entrepreneur, you can kind of break that and do your own thing and impact your own tribe or your community or whatever you want to do.
Right.
So that's the difference as an entrepreneur, right? And I found, like, I was very fortunate to, do sales really young and kind of I had a lot of side hustles over the years, but I always did sales and marketing all my life, right? So that's something that I definitely am very fortunate to have.
And at 9 years old, John, I'm sure it wasn't fair because you would smile, your hair tasseled at the time with a nice little cute little shirt. And you'd say, hi, Mrs. Jones, would you like to get another newspaper subscription? Oh, little Johnny, sure. So I don't know if it's exactly like that, but I'm imagining something like that.
That's amazing. So I wanted to ask you, so technology has kind of changed over the years, right? And it's probably evolved even since you started your first entrepreneur journey. How and what do you use today that is very useful for some of these startup companies or entrepreneurs thinking of starting that you can utilize to really impact your business?
Absolutely. I think, so tools I can mention, listen, and these are just, the tool name doesn't really matter. It's the category, but we use Dropbox, but I'm a firm believer file sharing is just, you just can't do without it. Whether it's Microsoft's or whatever brand it is. So file sharing.
Yeah. Google Drive.
Right. I think 2, task management. We use Asana, but there's so many zillions of tools out there. That's just game changer. It's just like, it shortens our team meeting because I'm always in there. That's where I can get my updates. Okay, what's happening with the client, Jamie or Kara or Liz? And I see the stream of conversation. Everything's attached to it. So that's 2. And I think I'll stop there. There's so many other tools. Oh, and I must say, my inbox, I happen to be an emailer. Some people like chat. But the reason I don't mind emails because I think the English word is fastidious. My English is bad. I think it means something, John. You know these fancy words. So, but the point is that I love email because I'm very disciplined. Kind of a 0 inbox policy. I use filters and sorts. So those for me, John, I think without those, and video, man, come on. Zoom is like a verb now. I feel sorry for GoToMeeting others, even though those tools are good tools too, especially if they're my sponsors. So those are good tools too. But the point is, those things have really just transformed my business. And I think, though, keeping in mind, as John, I'm sure, is hinting, as we're saying, the tool is one thing, but technology is amazing, but how you use it, both go hand in hand. So those people who are not using these tools, you're missing out. Your smartphone, task management, file management, communication. Some people are slackers, as in Slack. I'm not. But it works too. So.
Yeah, I think the big thing is there's a lot of tools out there in software. You got to figure out what's good for you and your team, right? And make sure that the adoption of those tools are used for and consistently used for everyone, right?
Correct.
Because some of these software and tools or apps are very complex for some people, right? So you got to make sure everyone's on board and using it consistently. Because if it's not, then it's a waste.
That's true.
And I use a lot of those. I use all the G Suites. I use a ton of tools.
Yes.
Right? In the SEO world, we have only tools.
I'm sure. Yeah, you guys have a whole toolbox, whole toolkit.
We have a whole toolbox, definitely. So I wanted to ask you, like, I know you're great in person in terms of like speaking and networking events.
I try.
Did you start your business going out doing networking events? Like, what are your thoughts about networking events versus like the live networking events versus online forums and
Sure.
groups?
Yeah. I think those of us, and it seems like you are like that, Don, those of us who have extroverted, outgoing in a good way, because you can be extrovert and be a total pain,
Yes.
but in a good way, a little bit of humility to you, it's an asset we have. And I think nothing beats in person or things like this. I know when John and I see each other, if we meet each other, I'm probably gonna give him a big hug. And it's like we've been brothers for years. I can feel it.
Yeah.
So I think that in-person networking just cannot be beat. However, so that's one, full stop.
Yeah.
Online networking, man, it's powerful.
Yeah.
And some tips on that. I even have in Asana to remind me to go to some discussion groups and share and comment because, there's so much going on.
Yeah.
And why is that? Yes, I want to share. I want to comment, want to help. Let's be real, people. Me doing that also continues to boost my brand in those forums. So I'm a firm believer, online networking, getting to know people, segmenting your network, giving back to others. Me and John are now connected. Yeah, I'm going to remember him more. I'm going to see where he's hanging out so I can keep adding value to his world. He's already done that. Obviously, we're meeting. He's reached out to me. So the point being is that, to answer your question, yes, online networking, LinkedIn, John, it's powerful, man. And this is why I tell people kind of have some consistent content of whatever way you're doing. You don't know how many people say, Ramon, I see you all the time on my feed. I don't need you to buy from me all the time. Maybe never. But by having a fan base, my book, right? Celebrity CEO, by having a fan base and a following, you just need X% of people to engage in your funnel, be with you, to live a decent living in your field of work, whether it's dog petting, water bottle making, I don't care what you're doing.
Yeah. And that's so critical. Like just getting out there and keep it consistent, right?
Yes.
And whatever channel that means, you might not like certain channels, so don't do it, but do the ones that you actually like going on, right? And keep it consistent, right? Because the challenge is, if you're a blogger, you like writing, right? But you might not be comfortable using LinkedIn or something.
That's right.
So do what you are comfortable in, and just keep it consistent. And in terms of like going live meetings and networking in person, I mean, I hate the fact that there's always real estate agents, mortgage brokers, insurance brokers that give me a card without even knowing what the heck I do, right? And then they go to me and they're like, can we have a meeting? Can I have a call? I'm like, first off, I don't know who you are, what you do, why should I even go to you? Like, you brought no value to me. So why are you in my face? I don't even bring business cards to networking events, right? Live meetings. Because if someone wants to get to know me, they'll get to know me.
Yes, yes. John, you and I are in the same boat. That is the one pet peeve of mine. It goes both ways. So me and John are crossing. We never talk to each other. Can I have your card, John? I'm just repeating what you said.
Exactly.
Same thing. And or the reverse. Can I give you my card? But I get it. John, these are hungry people. They're just, I get it. But so to the insurance agents out there and others, we love you. We need you. We need insurance. We need health insurance. John and I love you, I think. Right, John?
Yes.
Okay. But that's the tip. When you see us, at least say, hi, how are you? Do you want to protect your family? John's going to say yes. Have you thought about some financial options? He's going to say yes. Then you can say, could I share with you 3 ways we're helping our clients? He's going to say, hey, he may say no. It could be a bad day to be like, no. But at least start it like that. And
always be in a position to give more than get, right? And everyone in these networking events that actually do well are the ones I find that are givers, right? The ones that actually want to help others versus the ones that are takers. Right. Give and Take is a great book too. Like it's just much more rewarding helping others and not expecting anything in return.
Yes.
Right?
That's true.
And you feel so much better that you kind of helped impact something or someone in a small way.
So true. So, and to that insurance person to say, hey, listen, John, what do you do? I help people increase their brand through content, blah, 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 blah. You know what? Maybe I have 1 or 2 people for you. Do it genuine because John and I can smell fake people. So, but really, because then John's going to be, I mean, if you've just, even possible that you introduce him to the whatever he needs.
Yeah.
He'll listen.
Exactly. And connect with people. You don't have to connect with every single person.
That's right.
Connect with 1 or 2 that you actually have something in common with. And that's where a relationship is built, right?
That's right.
Versus trying to get a hold of every 50 person, getting to know their names and not knowing anything else.
That's right. And please don't sign me and John up to your email list without asking. I don't like that after an event, Viagra today and water bottle making today and every other, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I wanted to ask you, there's only a couple questions I have.
Sure.
In terms of your drive today, what really drives you, Ramon, in terms of when you first started, you had a different purpose and passion. What really drives you today?
Yeah. One thing I want to do, John, well, two things I want to do. Only two things I want to do and I'm never going to arrive, but when I reach the place I want to reach at, let's say financially, because it's easy. No, you can count money, but once anyhow, you get what I mean. I think you do. So Two things. One, I want to travel with my wife. End of story. Just travel.
Yeah.
Two, I love to give back. And we all say that, but I already do it, John. I have a passion for disadvantaged youth. And disadvantaged people overall. Some people it's AIDS, some people it's abused women, some people it's plastic, whatever it is. That's just not mine. Yeah. Mine is I want to really be able to secretly pay somebody's rent who needs it. I want to see a homeless person that's on the side of Newark, New Jersey, where I go to church at, who's addicted to drugs, and say, dude, if you want to go to Indiana to a drug rehab for 3 months, we'll fly you out.
Yeah, that's amazing.
There are just so many hurting people, man.
Yeah,
and I can't do everything. You can. We all can't. But that's what I want to do. That's it. I want to travel with my wife and help people.
If you're able to make small improvements and impact 1 or 2 people a year, or even in a couple years, you're making a difference. That's all we can ask for, right? That's why we're doing what we do and we love, right? Because if you're able to live a decent life and also help others, I mean, that's what life is about, right?
Right.
That's contributing to society, making a difference, right? So one thing I wanted to ask you, so aside from business, and I know that you've been doing all these entrepreneurial things, you're very spiritual, you take care of your family, you contribute to society. How about your health and, your friends and relationships? What are the strongest pillars in your life?
Sure. Great question. Thank you for that. I think a couple things. One, as you said, I'm a person of faith. I happen to be a Christian. Those who are listening are not, no problem. But faith is important to me. And I say there's a caveat, all kind of politics and things in the world, but that's me. But I think faith is important. If it's not for you, okay, faith is important. 2, definitely been married, as we talked, offline, 25 years, and strong relationship with my wife, which I think is important. Again, a lot of our friends, some of our friends going through divorce and issues, everybody has their path and journey. Everybody does. We all have our dark areas, but I'm grateful that at least I have that. So that's really important. My wife is my ground. And 2, health is important, man. I wake up in the morning, so I'm on the treadmill, the emotional treadmill, like all of us are, gym or no gym, but I'm pretty disciplined. And this is a word that I'm sure, John, you can talk about for hours, but I'm disciplined. When I wake up in the morning, I have a bottle of, a drink of water. I have nuts and berries and things. Yeah. I do about 50 to 100 push-ups throughout the day. Yeah. If I go to the gym or not, I don't kick myself up, but that's for how I feel fit. So those are my really disciplines. We have good friends that I'm hanging out with and we're with, and really I think, and I have another thing I'll say on my phone, KIT, K-I-T, keep in touch. About 20 guys that I call and just say, dude, I'm supporting you and I care about you. And part of the reason I do that, John, my father died some years ago. And I guess I've always desired to have a male in my life like that, meaning he was in my life. But I wish I had someone to, hey, bro, how can I help? Yeah. And so I make sure to do that for others because I desire it so much.
I love that. So being a mentor is a huge thing for myself as well. Just helping people that actually need it more than you think. And just that reminding message or call to say, is there anything that I can help you with today or this week or this month? Are there any struggles? Right?
It's true, man. And I do it different. I must say, I don't know about your wife, but I know my wife, when she says, when she talks to her friends, it's like a 72-hour conversation. Me, I'm like, if I called you, John, I'd be like, hey, John, how are you? Good. Family's good? Good. Anything I can help with? Good. 5 minutes. Not all the time. Of course, if you have a real hurt. But
no, I totally get it. Because we're busy people, right? And plus, we want to help as much as we can. Yeah. But,
we communicate different.
Know what we need to help with. And it's the bro thing, I think.
Yes.
It's like guys versus
what's up?
Oh, it's an emotional thing. Wow, it's been a tough day. Yes. All that stuff. I totally get it. No, that's amazing. So how can some of the listeners get a hold of you, Ramon? I mean, this
Sure.
has been amazing. So
Likewise.
tell people your business website, your
Sure.
social media handles, email, whatever.
Yeah. Listen, if you're looking to be inspired, every week I send an inspirational email out just telling people what's up and more. Things like John and I are talking. So if you go to smarthustle.com, and sign up, it's probably the best way to keep in touch and get more of Ramon if you're interested. My personal website is ramonray.com. But between ramonray.com and smarthustle.com, come and see me. And John, you are on fire. I can't wait to read your second, third, and fourth, and fifth book. He's like, wait a minute, and get to know you better. You're an amazing human. Really, I feel it. And I can't wait to get to know you better, man.
That's awesome. I love those kind words. We had so much fun today, Ramon. I know you're a very busy person, so I want to thank you for being on our show. And if you're ever in Toronto, hit me up.
Absolutely.
Okay, awesome. Thanks a lot, Ramon.